I fuck up a lot.
Hello, thank you for coming out. So I'm going to start with a little bit about me. Oh, I'm supposed to say over here. Sorry, I'm a wanderer when I talk. I'm a software developer, have been for almost 20 years now. Primarily a back-end developer and almost exclusively in the .NET stack is where I've worked. I am the co-founder and chapter leader of an organization called Girl Develop It. I founded the Ann Arbor, Michigan chapter. I don't think they're in Canada, so you probably haven't heard of them. They're an organization whose mission is to empower and assist women in technology. It's a bad name. It's women, not girls. I also run my own consulting company. I'm helping local startups in Ann Arbor diversify their workforce because startups are probably some of the worst at that. So why does this matter to me? Well, and you've probably figured it out, I'm a woman. So, yeah. So it's important to me, it matters to me. Also my daughters. Both of my daughters are software developers, which made me decide I won parenting. But shout out to Hillary, both my daughters are boot camp graduates. So I absolutely believe in the boot camp model. I was a boot camp instructor for a little while. So all the other women too, though that's why this is important. This is why I run GDI. GDI is short for Girl Develop It. But that's why I run that organization, because I want more women in tech. I've been in this field for almost 20 years and been by myself a lot. But why should it be important to everyone, right? So do you want your company to do better? More diverse companies are 15% more likely to outperform non-gender diverse companies. And it allows you to reach a more diverse customer base. We heard about it a little bit earlier today. You are not your customer, right? Right. So if we diversify our workforce, we're going to better represent our user base. And just to diversity of thought and innovation, right? We all think differently, and we're all bringing different perspectives. So also to fill talent needs. We've heard a lot today about shortages of resources in tech, right? So we can bring more women in, we're going to increase those numbers. And I love this one. Recruiting more women could help you recruit more women. I know it's a bit of a paradox and a bit of a challenge, but you can get some women in there, it'll help you get more women in there. Also, more gender diverse companies have lower turnover rates. And so why is this important? Replacing an employee can cost 213% of that employee's base salary. That's huge. That makes a big difference in a company. So what we've learned so far, empowering women isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. It's going to improve your company. It's going to make things better. So why do we need allies? Well, we still have a problem. Women in tech don't need extra help. I just want to make this clear, right? It's not that the women need the help, it's the environment they work in that needs the help. So why we don't need allies? It's not about rescuing or saving women, right? We can do that. We just need you to be there with us. So if you're thinking about being an ally and think this is important to you, take a second and think about it. Why is it important to you, right? Do you have a wife, sister, something like that? That's a really good reason, right? You've seen something. You've noticed there's a problem at your company. That's a really good reason, right? Honestly, I don't care. I just care that you want to be an ally. So why do we need you, right? This is a really good quote. In any scenario where a minority group is working toward equality, the partnership of the majority group is crucial to reaching parity faster, right? Guys, you're the majority, we're the minority. We need your help. So this is really says a lot. So this is CEOs of S&P 1500, right? There are more CEOs named John and more CEOs named David than there are CEOs that are women. Wow, right? That's kind of startling. There's 2 different male names that beat us out. Ugh. All right, so there's not enough of us. There's not enough women at the top, right? And in order for women to move up, we're going to need the assistance of the people above us. So we need male allies. So another thing, right, as far as I'm concerned, that things aren't changing fast enough. Actually, according to this graphic, things are actually going downhill a little bit here and there, right? Either staying the same or going down. The red line is female IT leaders. In 2016 to 2017, the number actually decreased, and from 11 to 10%. Those are already really small numbers, right? And the conversation is everywhere. We hear a lot about it. There's a lot of talk about it, but we're not seeing the change. So, what does it mean to be an ally, right? First of all, if you're just sitting there thinking you want to be an ally, you're not, right? You need to, being an ally is about what you do, not who you are. It's an action. It's a verb, not a noun, right? You have to take action. You have to drive impact to be an ally. You have to do something. Sorry, I'm super dry. So, also, being an ally is not about being a knight in shining armor, right? Another great quote. I love this woman. I've got a bunch of quotes from her. Male allies isn't about men charging in to save the day or make it okay to be a woman in tech. I can tell you this right now. All the women in tech, we know it's okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. Trust me, I know it's okay. But it's about men showing their support and being a part of the solution, right? Be a part of the solution. That's the key thing right there. So an ally, the difference, it's really subtle, but the difference between an ally and a knight, right? An ally wants to implement systematic change. They don't want to just fix this situation. An ally wants to change the culture, not save the day. So, and I think this boils it down really nicely and makes it something people can memorize, right? A knight fights your battles for you. An ally fights your battles with you. That's, I think, the key difference, right? I don't need you to come in and save me. I need you to be there alongside me. Right? And I think this is a really good example. I don't want to talk about the politics, and certainly not US politics. Trust me, I'm not super happy to talk about that right now. But this is a woman who decided she wanted the Confederate flag removed from her state capital, right? And so she found it offensive and wanted it removed. The man down below is her ally, right? Instead of charging up there and saying, that flag bothers you, let me take it down, he stood at the bottom and he kept people away from her and allowed her to climb up the flagpole and remove that flag, right? So that's an ally instead of a knight. Unfortunately, sometimes allies get in trouble with you, but right, he was all in. They both got arrested, but that's a real ally. So some good examples, right? So because I know it's a slightly subtle difference, but say you notice a woman getting interrupted in a meeting, right? A knight is going to go, hey, I think she had a great idea, and he's going to summarize her idea and tell everybody, right? That's a knight, like saving the day right there, right? Where an ally is going to say, hey, let's get back to her idea. By the way, I think we should stop all interruptions in meetings, right? It's that systematic change, right? Let's change the system. Let's fix what is allowing there to be a problem. So another example, you notice women being judged differently in interviews, right? where a knight's going to go, hey, and he's going to try to save that woman from being eliminated and try to get her the job, right? He's saving the day. He's saving that woman, right? Where an ally is going to push back and he's going to say, hey, I think the system is broken. I think there's something wrong with our interview process, and maybe we should implement some more standardized hiring process, right? We're fixing the system and making it better for everybody. So, right, being an ally, it's not going to be easy. I know it's a little bit hard, right? We're going to make mistakes, right? And that's okay. That's kind of what I'm here to, it's okay if you make mistakes. Just keep trying, right? So what happens when you do make a mistake? And I'm trying to be good, not really swear too much. First of all, say you're sorry and mean it, really mean it, not just, hey, I'm sorry. But no, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that happened, right? Do not get defensive. Try to remember intention and impact are not the same thing. Whether you intended it the way it was taken or not, the impact, the way it was taken is what's important, right? And if you offended someone, whether you meant it or not, they were offended. I'm sorry. That's just how it works, right? Another thing, can you help me understand, right? Ask the question. Ask what the right response would have been. What was the thing I could have done better, right? Try to understand the solution. So we're going to make mistakes too, right? So I would say most women have a lifetime of experiencing whether implicit or explicit bias in some way, right? And we're hesitant. We're, maybe not really sure what your real reasons are, right? We've encountered a lot of things that make us a little reluctant to accept help, right? So that's okay, right? Remember that women may have some extraordinarily valid feelings stemming from this lifetime of implicit and explicit bias. So we're going to make mistakes. I'm sorry, but that's okay, right? Because we're in tech, right? And everybody in tech knows this motto, right? Fail fast. We get that. So let's fail fast. Let's get out there and try. And that's okay. We'll make mistakes. That's right. Try to get it right the first time, but if you don't, let's iterate on it. You can never quite get rid of those techie kind of ways of thinking. Iterative development, sorry. So where to start, right? So guys in the room, have you ever been the only one of your gender in the room? I would say most women in here could probably come up with at least one experience where they've been the only female in the room. This is actually a picture taken at a tech conference, and that's the restroom line, which is the one advantage to being a woman in tech. That actually works out really great. I was at a 5,000 person conference down in Florida, and there was 10 minutes between sessions, and the men were complaining they couldn't get to the bathroom in time, and I was like, I got no problem. I think all the women here have their own bathroom. So we're experiencing this a lot, and I'm guessing the men have not, right? I've been to a lot of meetups where I was the only female. That's probably one of the reasons why I started my own, so I didn't have to do that anymore. But I used to, my first meetup I ever attended was a .NET meetup. And you think the women in tech numbers are bad, women in .NET are worse, right? So try it sometime though. If you're a guy, find a meetup. Find a female-focused meetup and find out if they allow men to attend. And attend. It's kind of funny, running a female-focused meetup, that allows men. We allow anybody to attend. So we get men at our events pretty regularly, but often we'll have one man and a room full of women. And I've had quite a few men tell me, wow, that's kind of an interesting, different experience for me. And I'm like, that's funny. Not interesting or different for me. Right? So what else can you do? Listen. Listen to the women around you. Listen when women talk, right? Try to listen without getting defensive or explaining away behaviors. Honestly, please don't say, I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. Oh my gosh, I hate that, right? It doesn't matter whether he meant it that way or not. That's the way it came across. Again, intention is different than impact, right? Listen to in your office. If you hear a woman say something, right? She's talking about her experiences in some way. Ask her, like, you know what? I'm really interested. Could you tell me more? Could you help me understand what it's like for you here? Because I can tell you right now, the women in your office have a different experience there than you do as a man. But also listen if she's not comfortable talking about it, right? Again, we have a lifetime of experience where maybe it's not the best thing to talk about. Maybe it's uncomfortable for her. That's okay too. So another thing, ask. I know it's hard. I know it's weird. It can be uncomfortable, right? But it's okay to ask. Like, I want to understand. Can you tell me? The hardest part about that conversation is just getting it started. It'll get easier, right? So find ways to bring things up, right? Like you're here today, you're listening to me. That's a great way to start the conversation, right? I heard this talk about being a male ally, right? And I don't really understand what the different experience in our office would be for a woman. Can you tell me? Would you explain it to me? Would you tell me what it's like for you? Maybe try to understand the differences. So another thing to remember, not all women want to be an advocate for diversity. It's something I've taken on myself, but a lot of women don't want to. And that's okay too, right? We already stand out because of our gender in an office, right? And some women aren't comfortable with that. Some people aren't comfortable with that, right? Some women have had negative experiences, right? I've worked for companies where it was not okay to get up and say things. You know, pretty sure I got fired once because of not being able to keep my mouth shut. Right? Some women are concerned about the perception that they're not there because of their own merits and that they may be some sort of a diversity hire, right? So speaking out about it might make them feel uncomfortable. That's okay, right? Whatever their reason, if the person doesn't want to talk about it, they don't have to. What else can you do, right? If this is something that's important to you, speak up. Talk to other men. Right? It's great that you're going to talk to us, and we appreciate that, but we already kind of know what's going on. Talk to other men and tell them. Explain it to them, right? And it doesn't have to be formal. Just make a mention of it. Just talk about it. Just bring it up in casual conversation. Does your company have a diversity problem? Does your company have a gender diversity problem specifically, right? Notice it. Doesn't affect you if you're a male, and so you may not even notice. Trust me, we notice, right? And if you're noticing these things, point it out. Get other people noticing, right? So maybe you did notice, but maybe other people in the company haven't. It's sometimes hard to even notice things that don't really affect you, right? My favorite story on this is my daughter one time had to read a book for the company I work for, and she used to work there. She went through an apprenticeship program there, and they asked her to read a book. And it was about a tech company, and there was one female character in the book, and she was portrayed as the bitch, right? And it made her really angry. And she came to me and she talked about it, and I hadn't read the book, so I did some research on it. And I said to her, after doing some research, I found out that there was only one person of color in the book. And they were also portrayed quite badly. I said, did you notice that? And she said, I didn't. She noticed about the one female in the book being portrayed badly. She did not notice that the one person of color in the book was portrayed badly because it didn't affect her, right? So try to see other people's experiences. What else can you do? Speak to management. Upper management. This is a leadership conference, so some of you might actually be managers, but Move that conversation up. The higher up it goes, the more effective it's going to be. Again, notice if your company has a problem. Notice it and say it. Talk about it. Make it a talked about subject in your office. So, does your company have pay equity? Has your company even checked and looked into whether or not they have pay equity? My company actually just recently did a pay equity study, and they weren't doing very good. There's a few women who got some raises thanks to that, because they were being underpaid compared to their peers. Right? So ask around. Has your company ever done a pay equity study? Have they looked into that? And unfortunately, right, you are the majority in the company, so your words mean a lot. And they also mean a lot because there's nothing in it for you. When I speak on this topic, and when I go and I talk about it at my company, there's something in it for me, right? Am I doing this for personal gain? If you men are talking about it, it's not for your personal gain. Everybody understands that. And so it kind of has more impact, unfortunately. So another thing, organize. Find men who think like you. Get together, talk about it. Figure out ways to do something. Figure out ways to be allies. Figure out ways to improve your company. Right? Reach out. Be friendly, be welcoming, make the extra effort. Again, there might be some reluctance to accept this. Again, lifetime of experiences. But that's okay, keep trying. Eventually, you'll break through. You'll make some headway, right? Make sure everyone in your company is included, everyone in your group, right? You notice women being excluded from conversations. Include them. Point it out. Amplify. This is kind of a hard thing, right? Amplify our voices. We don't want you speaking for us, but we want you to amplify our voices, right? So point things out. Women tend to be interrupted and spoken over more than men in meetings. Point this out. Notice it when it happens. If you see a man getting credit for a woman's idea, say something. Point it out. Right? It can be hard for some people. I was just myself, and I am not a quiet person, and I'm not afraid to get up. I said something in a meeting, and nobody really listened, and about 5 minutes later, a man said the exact same thing, and the whole room was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, are you kidding me? That was a great idea when I said it 5 minutes ago, right? But that can be hard for people to say that. I said it, but I'm a big mouth, so... What? And bragging. Women tend not to brag about themselves as much as men do. Right? So brag for us. Hey, you notice one of your female coworkers did something amazing? Tell people. Right? Amplify her voice. Amplify her accomplishments. So again, noticing these things happen. That's important. It can be hard as a man, right? It's not happening to you. It doesn't affect you. But notice it, right? Being an advocate for women means understanding sexism can and does look different for each woman. It takes many different forms, right? Harassment, that's one of the most common things we think of. Exclusion is a huge problem, right? Just being excluded. And that provides us not with unequal opportunity. When women are excluded, they have unequal opportunity. Unequal expectations. And this can be higher expectations or lower expectations. When I was in college forever ago, I had a professor who didn't think women belonged in the computer science program. And when I would go to him with questions, homework questions, he would give me the answer. I thought, it's not super helpful. I talked to some of my classmates, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. When you go to him for problems, right, he sits you down and he works through it, and he's really just there until he knows you understand it. I thought, that's not my experience at all. I go in his office, and he just gives me the answer. Well, seeing as I was the only female in most of my classes. This is probably close to 30 years ago. Went to school part-time. Took me a while. I finally started to get to know some other women who'd had him, and we all had the same experience. Right? So that was lowered expectations. He did not expect women to be able to do as well or to be able to understand it. So, right? And that's not good either. I graduated not understanding pointers. And at that point, it was before my .NET, before .NET existed, I was a C++ programmer. Pointers were kind of important. And I didn't really understand them because of this instructor, because of his lowered expectations. That's not cool. Right? So, and sexism can take many different forms. Right? For each person, it's going to be a different thing. But try to notice it. Try to see it. Try to see whether it's higher expectations or lower expectations. Right? I don't want you to make it easier for me, and I don't want you to make it harder for me. I just want to have the same path as everybody else. Some other things you can do. Push back, right? Refuse to participate in all male panels. I'm seeing less and less of these, but they still exist, and I still see it. Actually, my alma mater just sent me an email about a month ago with a panel they were doing. I was like, seriously? It was like 6 men. And they were diverse. They had one person of color. Ooh. Right? So refuse to participate. You, as a male, have more power to make this stop than I do. Right? Ask your company and your conference organizers or whatever you're doing. What are they doing to increase diversity? I have to say this is pretty good here today. Good job. Right? Another thing I've been seeing, inclusion writers. It's actually pretty cool. So high demand speakers are having inclusion writers saying you must have a certain percentage of your speakers, female, people of color, whatnot, right? So that you can say, no, I won't be there unless you meet these criteria, right? And it can be just as simple as pointing out non-inclusive behavior, right? When you see it, when you see someone being excluded, when you see different expectations, point it out. Sometimes people are not even realizing they're doing it. Call it out. Don't allow it to stay in the dark. Another thing you can do is help us fight the reverse bias argument, right? We are not coming for your jobs. We've heard repeatedly today, there is not enough talent in tech, right? And I don't know of any company that would fire a man who was a high performer simply so they could replace him with an unknown quantity who was a female. Come on, that's not going to happen. I've heard that argument, though. Are we going to get fired so you can hire women? No. You're going to get fired if you're not doing your job. That's the only reason you're going to get. No company is going to get rid of somebody doing their job and doing it well, right? So that's not going to happen, right? So for over a decade, employers and economists say persistent shortage of talent in tech. So that you're not going to lose your job because of us, right? So what can you do? How can you make your workplace more inclusive? Get to know the women you work with. Again, like I said, understand their experience. It's going to be different from yours. I can guarantee it, right? This is a really good thing. I think all men should read. So women published this. Survival tips for women in tech, right? Do you not see a problem? We need survival tips. There's obviously some sort of a problem here. And I think every man should read it. There's some really disturbing things in there. And there's some things that had a big effect on me. Right? So know your company's ratio. Right? Does anybody here know what the ratio of women to men is at their company? Yeah, not a lot. Nice. If you do, actually, I think this is one of the highest I've seen where people said they did know. Yeah. I had to ask HR because my company's got 3 offices. So I can't know in the other 2 states what the ratios are, but the whole company, it was like 20%. And we're a tech company, tech consulting company. And the whole company, and that included HR and all of the things. So it's much lower. So another thing, task assignment bias. So I don't know if everybody knows what this is. Women tend to be assigned tasks that are traditionally female in meetings, note-taking, getting coffee, front-end work. I'm a back-end developer, right? You know, there's an assumption a lot of times that you're in programming, you must be a front-end person, right? Are you a designer? No, I'm back-end. Nobody wants me doing design work. Trust me, it's awful. Ugh. What else can you do? Be a mentor, right? Take a junior dev under your wing, especially a female junior dev, right? It's hard. Having a mentor is can have a huge effect on someone's career, right? It helps having someone, an advocate, having someone speak for you, having someone speak to management on your behalf. That can make a big difference in someone's career. And that doesn't happen often enough for women. It's much more likely to happen for men than it is for women. So make an effort, right? Say a new female gets hired, or any new employee. I mean, this is just general good person behavior, right? But help a new employee acclimate, right? It's very hard to come into a company and be the new person. Trust me, it's even harder if you're the new guy who isn't a guy, right? You come into a company, I've worked for 2 companies where I was the only female. And it's much harder to come in and be the first female, the only female, and try to fit in. So if you can help that and you can ease that, that would be a good thing to do. So do you have an inclusive workplace, right? And what can you do to help make it so? Do you know, I think it's better here in Canada, but companies who have good work-life balances, right? And like family time off. Are you taking advantage of those? In this day and age, women are still primarily responsible for the housekeeping duties and the childcare duties. Still right now, right? Women are much more likely to use flex time off of work for school events, children's doctor's appointments, right? Often these like flex time things are seen as women's benefits. And there can be some disadvantages to actually utilizing them. It can be harmful to a person's career. If you're a man and you start using them too, it starts to remove the stigma. Everybody uses it. Everybody takes that time off. Everybody uses flex time. Everybody takes their kids to the doctor. Everybody goes to parent-teacher conferences at the school. Right? Because, first of all, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, those are awesome benefits. I'd use it even if I didn't need to. Another thing, actions matter even when it's just the guys. How am I doing that? Right? Hold each other accountable even when there's no women in the room. Still not cool, right? And it can be as simple as saying, like, dude, not cool. That's not acceptable behavior. That's not a cool thing to say, right? That was a creepy thing to do. Talk about the inclusiveness, being an ally with the other men, right? Get everybody involved. So what to do if you see inappropriate behavior? First of all, do not walk away, right? Notice it, don't walk away, right? Don't ignore it. And don't give in to the bystander effect. Bystander effect is if several people see it and nobody reports it because they all think the other person's going to. Don't do that. All right, like I am not a police officer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not officially telling you, but if you see someone being harassed, what can you do? Right, first of all, just use your best judgment, but distraction and indirect intervention, that can be very effective, right? Walk up and start talking to the harasser. He is not going to continue harassing this person, right? There's no way. Do not make a scene. That person is already probably pretty uncomfortable. Seek out the harassed person privately afterward, right? And ask them if they would like you to report what they've seen. Sometimes they don't want to. And it's terrible, but that's their choice. So if you notice women being excluded, invite them, tell them, let them know. Right? You notice women being interrupted. Again, just make it a rule. Nobody interrupts anybody. That works for everybody. But call out the interruptions when you see it. Right? Be the voice. Notice these things. What if you're unsure what to do? I just don't know what to do. I obviously haven't covered every possible scenario. Ask. Ask the people around you. Ask the women around you. My final thought, right? Again, some really good quotes. An ally is not defined as someone of privilege who speaks for a marginalized group. Rather, being an ally means boosting and drawing attention to an oppressed group's own voices, right? Don't speak for us. Speak of us. Speak alongside of us. All right, thank you very much. I have some resources I'd like to point out really quickly. This is a Twitter account, Better Allies, and they are regularly posting Twitter stuff, and they have actually a 5 Ally Actions weekly newsletter that's really good. I really like them. So if you're interested in learning more and just learning new stuff more on a regular basis, you should follow Better Allies. And that it's run by men trying to make some changes. So also the Women in Tech Survival Guide, a man wrote a response to it. It was really pretty good. Making tech survivable, what can men do? And just, these are really some real quick, 50 reasons you might be more privileged than your coworker, right? Just help you make you stop and think. And also, right, amplify women's voices. Here's a link to 35 amazing women in tech to follow on Twitter. Follow them and retweet them. And you're boosting women's voices. All right, that's it. I'm done. Thank you very much. And I'd be happy to take any questions. Do I still have? Yeah, I still have a few minutes for questions, if anybody has one.
Hey, so near the beginning of the presentation, you kind of differentiated various scenarios being ally responses or handling of the situation and night handling. I just wanted a little bit of clarification. Are you saying lean more toward the ally way of handling the situation?
Please, yes, be an ally. We're not looking for knights in shiny armor, right? Please don't come in and save the day. Please help us make a change to the way things are.
So if there's a situation that you could argue that the knight response might be okay, you're not saying no.
It's not bad.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying being a knight is awful, right? But that only fixes that one situation.
Right.
Right? I'm saying let's fix the broken system.
Okay.
That's all. That's why my preference is to lean toward the ally.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, please, right? Like, do good things regardless. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I once had a manager in the beginning of my career which was kind of biased against women. I'm not even sure if he even recognized it himself, and I did not have a clue what to do about it, so I'm not with him anymore. But would you have any advice if this happens again?
So, right, that's why I keep saying, like, notice it and call it out, right? I would say some of these men, I'm not even sure that professor I had knew what he was doing, right? These are the unconscious bias, which, like, everyone thinks is kind of not really bias. Sometimes unconscious bias is just the person doesn't know what they're doing. And maybe had someone called him out, things would have been different. I don't know. I'm hoping. Maybe not, though, but yeah. Did I answer your question? Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I kind of got off on the... Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Things I went through. So typically, I think this is common knowledge that for every child a woman has, she loses 3 years of career.
Mm-hmm.
Every
And
single
loses
child.
pay.
Yes, loses pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through this myself. The thing is, as soon as they know that you're pregnant, oh, you have a condition, and you lose out on working on interesting projects. So anybody out there?
That's the task assignment bias, right?
Yes.
Oh, she's got little kids. She's not going to want to take an out-of-town assignment. Like, I don't know. Ask me. How do you
And
know? Maybe I want to get away from those kids.
So it should, yeah, exactly. So it should be part. It should be part of the conversation. It should
Yeah.
be part of the conversation. And what are you able to accomplish? And also when you come back, oh, we want to ease you into the position again, so they don't give you anything interesting.
Yeah.
So have that conversation. Ask them, what do you want to do? I know when I came back from mat leave, it just give me something interesting. Like I'm done just talking to a baby.
Right. Right. I don't want to talk about bodily functions anymore.
No,
Like,
no,
let me do real work,
Exactly.
please.
And you are incredibly efficient that first year. Believe me. So
It's actually
it is
biologically more
yes,
efficient.
Yes, exactly. So it is really important to have that conversation and what that you're ready to do. And also, what I've also seen is teams where there's more equal representation of women and men work so well. It's incredible, the dynamics, everybody's on an equal footing, and the confidence. It's
That's what
really
I'm saying.
rewarding to see it.
I
It's
think
really
that's why
rewarding.
companies with more gender diversity have less turnover, right? Because the teams are more effective, they work better together, you're getting more done, right? You just because you have differences. Differences are good. I think there was yes, over here.
I think there's one back there first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Hey, so this might be a little tough question to ask. I hope it's okay.
You know what? You will never offend me. You saw the talk of my title.
Okay.
I've been married to a steel construction worker for 30 years.
Okay.
Trust me, it's almost impossible to offend me. So please ask.
So my question was that does this opinion that that men are from Mars and women are from Venus? So the point being that these are two different psychologies. The point you were making in terms of not interrupting, right? It sometimes happens that women tend to maybe talk a little bit more than So are you saying have a positive bias, saying let them complete versus sometimes we just interrupt whoever talks like more, right?
So
it's not specifically
the
interrupting.
idea that women talk more than men
Yes,
is
bias,
actually
absolutely.
false.
Yes, okay.
Studies have been done repeatedly and show that women actually speak much less than men in meetings and are much more likely to be interrupted, right? So sorry, I'm gonna call you out on it, a bit of a bias, right? But women do not speak more than men. Men speak much more than women. And so, but yeah, I mean, shouldn't anybody just be allowed to finish their thought? So-
On that thought, what about when something like in a scrum where you are asked to take something offline? How would you do that in that particular situation to avoid that type of,
So,
because
I
you're
mean,
purposely interrupting, but
yeah,
on purpose.
Right. I mean, don't let somebody just go on and on and on. I mean, I have a male coworker that, oh, good Lord, please make him stop talking, right? And that's okay but when you say take it offline, do you really mean that? Or is that just a way to shut someone up? So.
Just given the climate right now where everyone's trying to attract new talent anyway, what advice or resources do you have for finding more women in tech to hire on for our
I
companies?
have a whole nother talk about that.
Is
But
it in this conference?
I'm not doing it for this conference. No, I'm sorry. But there is a lot, right? Like, take a look at. Yeah, we went back and forth on this. But look at your job ads. There's lots of things, right? What are your job ads? What is your company saying about you? There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of things companies are doing that tell women, please don't come here. Sure, I could, right? Do not put beer and ping pong as a benefit. Like, that's fine, but really, is that the best benefit you have as a company? I worked with a company in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that they had unlimited PTO, as much as you could possibly want. They did not have that in their job ads. They had beer and ping pong. Like, that's great, have beer and ping pong, but maybe you should be telling people you have unlimited PTO, right? That's much more attractive to me than beer and ping pong. I'm sorry. I've seen job ads that said, come out and be one of our guys, right? Like, no. Be one of our amazing guys is the job ad. Literally said that. I'm like, well, that not so inclusive, right? Look at your company. Look at what it's saying to you. Walk through your company and see if there's, walk through your office. See if there's any red flags. Is there anything in that office that might go, right? I walked through one company and they had 3 bottles of whiskey sitting right out in the open. That's fine. I'm not saying don't have them. I'm saying maybe put them away. Maybe make it not look like such a frat house. That's all. You know, I could go on. We could talk later. So,
actually, I had the same question as that gentleman over there, but
oh, there you are. Sorry, I couldn't see you.
I had the same question about the same thing about that, but in your answer, something when you responded with that, when you were saying don't put beer or ping pong or things like that, how do we know that we're not putting bias into I want to make this more attractive to women, that women don't like, obviously
Okay,
women
yeah.
love beer and ping pong and
Yeah,
things
don't
like
go
that.
the other way, right? So that's another part of my no pandering. Please don't pander to women as well, right? Make it gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Make it not super aggressive, right? Make the job requirements the real requirements instead of some sort of wish list. Can you know every programming language ever? Right? No. Right? Put what you really need people to know. There's lots of things. Yeah. And you know what? Ask a woman. Have her look at it. 'Cause I'm sorry, there's just some things you're not going to be able to see. Right? Like the story about my daughter.
Hey, I have a question about the harassment slide you had. You had an example where the woman who's being harassed requests you to not help out, and you say that the onus is on them to ask for that. Now, my worry is that that could be a sign of continued harassment, even abuse. And what's the best thing that I can do to help that woman want to speak up and let me be an ally for her?
So one of the biggest things, the scariest things about reporting something like that, right, is it's always he said, she said. And it tends to be, right, like a male in power and a female who's not in power. And that can be very scary, and it can be very hard to be believed, right? So you going to that person and saying, I saw what happened. I know what this person is doing. If you want to report it, I will be a witness. I will go stand there with you. I will go back you up, right? Because that's one of the biggest things is, if I report this, who's going to believe me? But if she's got a witness, it makes her a lot more believable, unfortunately. But, right? So then it's he said versus she said and he said. You know, so it's not just one person. So, but again, right, going in there and reporting something, I mean, if it's really bad, yes, you should report it. You should report it whether they want you to or not. But, I mean, but talk to the person. Tell them that you're there for them.
Cool.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Right there,
Over here.
literally. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna acknowledge something on my part where I think for the first 3 years of my career and interacting with female developers on my team, I think I was of the opinion first where I was like, oh, is there really a problem? And then through having both of my older sisters go through transitioning from another industry into tech, I started to see it from a more personal perspective.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in a leadership position at my company now where we're onboarding female devs out of boot camps and stuff like that. through the past 2 or 3 companies I've worked for, I found that there's maybe like a demographic of people experiencing these issues who I feel like even though like I'm perceptive of the issues, I almost feel like as like a male, like I may not be like wanted in that space. I don't experience that from all female developers that I've worked with, but I feel like there definitely is a demographic where it's like they don't want me to be part of the solution. I was just wondering what your suggestions or tips would be for sort of like breaking down that wall.
So again, right, and I'm sorry, I just interrupted you. It's just like, don't interrupt, and I do it. I'm really bad. Please call me out on it. Right. So again, that kind of what I talked about. Right. There's that lifetime of experience that, like, we're wary. Like, oh yeah, you want to help? Sure. What do you really want? And so understand that, and just be there, and just constantly and keep it up, and eventually they're like, wait, he might be really sincere, and otherwise. I mean, if they don't want you to help, you can't force it, right? But be there and be an ally and make it known. And eventually, yeah, they'll start pulling you in. And women it used to be like we had to fight this on our own. And you're finding more and more, and studies are showing, right? Companies that have gender diversity initiatives that are all female don't change as much as companies that have gender diversity initiatives that are male and female. Right? So it's starting to become better known that we don't have to fight this fight on our own, and that we need your help. So hopefully it'll improve. I know it's not really an answer, but
Hi. Back on that harassment comment earlier.
yeah.
I just feel that if a man witnesses harassment to a female colleague, he should still report it to their HR because he is uncomfortable as well.
Yes.
It is a toxic environment. So we don't leave it with the victim to just report on it. It can be done confidential means with
Right.
HR. But
I'm just a little reluctant because I'm of the belief that HR is there to protect the company and not the employee. For the most part.
I guess it depends on the company.
But
I still
absolutely
feel
depends on
that
the company.
it puts that male employee in a very awkward position where they feel they can't do anything and live through that. So there needs to be more of a conversation and leaving it with the victim who may not do anything with it because of fearing losing their jobs.
Right, but again, right, that if you go report it and that person could lose their job because someone else reported it, it's hard. It's not easy.
Especially in America.
It's worse in America. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yay, America.
one thing I do like to remind people of within this event, because we started this last year, is that in Canada, we actually do have a lot of protections, but they're all opt-in. You have to do something in order to get those protections. You have to report it. You have to file the complaints. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it because you're making things better for everyone. Like we said, we want to be the ally, not the knight.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to be the person, and sometimes that person loses their job fighting the fight for everyone. Like you said, I'm not surprised at all. It's better in Canada.
Yay, Canada.
Yeah.
Who wants to move here? We didn't get Amazon, but we got everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Thank
almost
you
lost
very
both my
much.
daughters to Canada after the last election. I'll just say that.
Well, you're only across the street. pretty
Well,
much,
yeah,
right?
we're super close. I'm from Michigan, all right? So it's like an hour drive, and I'm in Canada.